Nagbabalik po ang She Said. She Said at kasama pa rin po natin ang, pwedeng sabihin magician ng piano.
The maestro.
Maestro.
The ultimate. It's the highest
magic
level of
ultimate.
concert piano playing.
Yeah, but okay, we'll be the ones to make bayabang for him kasi napakagaling. We're still with Raul Sunico.
Yeah, Dr. Raul Sunico.
Doctor.
Yeah, he's and we have some stuff for you. We have some R&M dried pineapple and dried mangoes. Thank you to Francis Mulligan Chow.
Thank you. And we have some facial soap and hot chocolate from Classic Herbs Corporation.
Okay,
Thank you.
I should have had it before our taping, so I could have used this. Thank you.
Thank you for your next guesting with us. So thank you to Tita Lilian, Tita Cora, and Jay. And we'd also like to thank SM Department Stores.
Exactly,
for our
right?
clothes.
Thank you, SM.
Thank you. They've got it all for us.
Yeah. See, I told you there was something we're missing out on.
I know. I felt that too. And thank you to Dr. Levy and Dr. Ana Lansangan of Shemian, Manila. Thank you to Mert Besa of Besas. Thank you to Cherry, TJ, and Gian of Tony and Guy. Thanks, for guys. Our looks.
And to Tara too. And thank you to Beverly Hills 6750.
Yes, and then for all those who would like their children to learn through play, if they're 0 to 4 years old, please call Jimbery at 910-PLAY or 910-7529. Jimbery has branches at Shangri-La Mall, Manila Polo Club, Manila Town Center, Cebu, Westgate, Alabang, Greenbelt 5, Serendra, Trinoma, and Eastwood Mall. So remember, Jimbery 910-PLAY. Thank you.
Okay, the amazing thing about Dean / Doctor / he has so many hats.
So many things.
Raul Sunico. He doesn't even need piano pieces. That's so amazing. Whether it's the birthday party of Madame Tantoco or it's the going away party for our CCP president, Nes Hardin, or any occasion they have him there, he just gets there and he starts playing with no piece. Have you ever blanked at any point, at any time, and what did you do?
Oh, this is a very revealing question.
It's okay.
Well,
we won't tell.
Well, once in a while, we have some lapses, but you get to sort of camouflage them in a way. It's like acting also. Sometimes you forget your lines. You just have to improvise a little until you get back to the mainstream. So it happens also. It happens to the best international performer. We are human.
So if I were watching you, I probably
wouldn't
even
be able
notice.
to tell. No, of course not. No.
See?
No.
Really?
Well, sometimes as long as you don't really play the piece, you may not really notice. It depends on how the particular artist could weave around a little lapse or a little error there, here and there.
How many hours a day do you practice?
Well, when I was in New York, when I was studying at the Juilliard School, I went up to, although it was not every day, I went up to 11 hours a day when I had a deadline to meet. Like I wanted to join a competition which was going to be held in 2 weeks' time.
Right.
So my teacher told me that I was out of my mind joining a competition which was in 2 weeks' time, knowing that the piece was about 80 pages long.
Wow.
80.
80.
Yes, 80.
How did you fare?
Well, I ultimately got second prize.
Oh, congratulations.
It was thank you. It was a challenge to me because I knew that I think I had good memory for one thing. So it was a challenge. I had to disprove my teacher that I cannot learn this. So after 1 week for my next lesson, I brought it to him for memory, and even he was surprised that I could memorize it. But I had to devote 11 hours.
So you wait. So in 1 week you memorized all 80 pages? Because he brought it back to his teacher in 1 week. So in 1 week, all 80 pages down. Wow.
So
okay.
After that, you're not supposed to wash your hands or.
Yeah, is that true?
Well, I thought it was true, and probably it is true, but it's funny because one incident in New York, my classmate was washing his hands in the washroom. So I told him, "Hey, we just played. You shouldn't wash." And why? Why did you tell me that? It's because in the Philippines we're not supposed to wash. Oh, that's crazy, But I believe that it is better not to wash. First of all, when you play or when you do some manual activity,
You tire.
you're tired and your arms actually are hot. Right?
You gotta wait for it to
Yes,
cool down.
Yes, so if you wash with cold water, the drastic change in temperature can actually be harmful. So if ever you need to wash your hands after a strenuous activity for the hand, it's better to wash with warm water so that the change in temperature will not be that drastic.
You know, our hands are veinier than his, and he plays the piano. That's so sad, right?
Okay, so are there times like, when you do some sports, it's better if you're already like really sweating when you play? Because sometimes,
You have to
like,
warm up.
especially if we play for the Star Olympics, we're all nervous, there are so many people watching, and then we're not sweating at all. But once we sweat, then it's easier to play. So is it also like that? I mean, you need a little sweat or your body?
Not really. Well, different people have different sweat glands, right? I myself, I'm not the sweaty kind, which I'm thankful for, because if your hands sweat while you're playing the piano,
You slide.
then it would get to the keys, and then the keys would become slippery,
Yeah.
and that
And
would
if you're
of course
playing for
affect
like
your
10
playing.
minutes, and that's not
Yeah.
gonna be
Yes. In fact, I have met some people who had sweaty hands.
Yeah, what
and-
happens to them?
Well,
There's
They never
Right?
came out in a recital.
Yeah,
or
they
in a
felt
concert.
miserable because they couldn't do anything about it.
That must be frustrating if they have the talent and they can't do anything
It-
about
it
it.
is
Can't
quite
you inject
frustrating.
your sweat glands?
Yeah,
Or
you
is it-
can Botox it.
Probably.
Any sweat gland that you want inactive, you can inject
Really?
with Botox.
Like if our
I-
nose is always sweaty?
I,
But will
I
it grow
know
big like
of this person. She had really active sweat glands in her underarm, so she had Botox done to it because she didn't like, she was on TV a lot, and then she'd be there, and then there'd be like a huge,
Yeah.
and she's
Spot.
a lady, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
so yeah, so
And
she
she
had
had
it
Botox
injected,
there.
yeah, and it worked.
But Botox doesn't last.
Well, I guess she has to go. I only know about the first time she went.
Really?
I
So
don't know.
now her armpits look young.
I have no idea. I didn't. You know what? I didn't bother to look at it. So
It's a very interesting topic that we have suddenly gone into.
Yeah,
so when no
know.
one is watching, what do you play? I mean, what do you love playing at home?
What
when
is
no
your
one's
favorite?
watching?
TV, you mean? Or watching
Piece, piano
concerts?
piece.
Oh, what do I enjoy playing?
Yeah.
Well, mostly romantic music or impressionist. When I say romantic music, it's music composed during the Romantic era, which was roughly in the 19th century. So we talk about pieces of Chopin, pieces of Liszt, and these are pieces that I'm sure we all know, most of us know, because some of the melodies of popular songs were actually sourced from the original classical ones.
Okay, so what if you're a little sad? What do you find yourself playing?
There's no pattern, Jackie, because
nothing.
sometimes when you want to feel a little more upbeat
Yes.
and you're sad, you don't play a funeral march, right? Otherwise, you'll feel more depressed. But sometimes you want to feel that mood, of melancholy.
Yes.
So you play something also that suits the character, the mood that you're in. Sometimes you want to play something to take you out of the mood that you're in.
So you
it
just
depends.
play according to what
It
you want to feel.
depends.
So
How do
was,
you- yeah.
Sorry, was there ever a time that you had a little personal problem and you had a concert that day?
Oh yeah, sometimes we encounter emotional problems. Well, we don't have to elaborate what they are, but
Okay, yeah.
generally, sometimes you have emotional problems, personal relationships
Yes.
or whatever, but you have to play. So it's difficult to psych yourself up because even when you're on the concert stage, somehow at the back of your mind you think of those problems that are there. So it affects your concentration the more that you have to exert effort to keep focused. Otherwise, you fall into lapses.
What about you know how we highly respect you and your craft and your art, but there will always be this one person who thinks he can sing and makes you his karaoke. What do you do when I'm sure that's happened to you, right?
Yes, it has happened a lot.
So how do you get out of that? What's a polite way of like refusing a friend or someone's friend's friend who's close to you, and they just
Yeah, because if you go out with us, that's what's going to happen.
No. So how does it make you feel, and what do you do to get
Well,
out?
first of all, we try to be as polite, unless, of course, that person himself or herself is too abusive, then, sometimes you get provoked also. But irrespective of that, one way to get out of it diplomatically is to say, even if it's not true, that, sorry, I don't know the piece.
Right. But what if they'll say, what do you know?
That's why that person kept saying that to me. No.
What if they ask you, so what do you know?
Well, then, if I'm caught
So-
in a fix, I just have to,
You just give this 19th century romantic
That's
piece or something.
maybe I can give a piece that
They
has
wrote
that has no lyrics.
Okay, so speaking of that, along that line, what was the most unpleasant memory you've ever had of any show or of any concert, of anything that had to do with playing?
That's a little difficult to answer. Let me see. Well, I
Like
would
the
admit,
piano not being tuned at a concert, or
well, it's not really that it's unpleasant or that it's traumatic. I guess now that you look back to it, you look back to it with
could have been done
amusement.
differently.
But when you were there in that situation, you feel so traumatic. No?
What
One
happened? Yeah.
instance was when the piano I was playing on, it was an upright piano in one of our provinces here. It didn't function correctly because when you play on the keys did not
Go
come
out
back.
anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing
Yeah,
is,
okay.
I had another concert to play on the same piano on the same day because I was playing the afternoon and I had an evening
It would be
performance.
impossible to fix it. By
And
then.
when I asked for a tuner, it was a remote area, so they did not have any tuner. So I said, what can I do? So what I thought was to ask them to take off the front so that the hammers would be exposed. Because see, when the key doesn't go up, that means the hammers, they get stuck.
Yes.
So you have to push them so that they go up again.
So it looked a little funny without the.
Yeah, but if it's exposed, what does that mean? It will go up? I mean, like...
No, the thing is, I had to push them for it to go up. So when
So
I
you were
played
playing
my,
and then you push and then
yes,
play.
that's right. So I had
talented.
to do multi things. That's what we call multitasking.
How unhappy were you?
I was not unhappy. I was just uncomfortable, and of course, I was conscious because I'm sure the people there were laughing at
Oh
me.
my gosh, that's
But
so
it was the only
difficult.
way that I could make the piano sound. Otherwise, half of the keys were already down there, and they didn't function.
What do you do for recreation?
In my younger years, not so long ago, I used to play. Well, I'm not an athletic person, first of all, but just about the most athletic activity I had was playing ping pong or playing racquetball when I could still run, I guess.
What
faster.
racquetball? What?
Racquetball?
Yes.
You know why I'm asking? I wonder if it had anything to, that had nothing to do with
his hands, like
damaging your hands. 'Cause
basketball.
Did you ever insure
Like,
your fingers?
even racquetball or
Not
like
much.
your
No?
wrists. and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's kind of risky, right?
Well,
Yeah.
they said for the pianist, the safest sport is swimming.
Right.
The best sport is swimming.
Because, unless you
Safe, yeah.
unless you
Nothing
hit
but
the
the
wall,
water. Uh-huh.
unless you hit the wall when you swim, then it's practically
Boom.
safe. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so in line with the question that QT asked earlier, what is the most memorable concert that you've ever done and why and where?
Okay, one of the most memorable ones was when I played at the Cultural Center in 2004. It was about 5 years ago.
So recent.
I challenged myself to play the 4 piano concertos of Sergei Rachmaninoff, this Russian composer. Rachmaninoff is known to compose pieces that have almost a million notes, per
Whoa.
piece. I mean, there were a lot of notes. So normally, one Rachmaninoff concerto would be performed by a performer. So I said to myself, why don't I play all the 4? And so many friends were trying to convince me, why don't you divide it into 2 nights, so that you don't get tired. I said, no, I want to prove something. And so I did. I played all 4, and that actually lasted for about 3 hours.
Wow.
30.
Non-stop?
Well, there was an intermission, of course.
But still, that's a long time.
But still.
And that was with the orchestra also. I was accompanied by the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra.
That's great, though.
And one of the things that actually inspired me was when my own school in New York, Juilliard School, wrote me that they were congratulating me for doing that because
So
apparently
they did hear about it
they heard about it through the internet.
through the internet. Somebody
Yes.
posted it.
Somebody posted it or somebody
On
printed
YouTube?
something like that. Yes.
So we can watch you there.
I don't know if the concert itself is on YouTube, but at least the news that I played, those things.
You are not one to blow your own horn, but can you please name a few of the awards that you've received?
Well, after my doctorate degree at the New York University for piano performance, I was given an honorary doctorate degree for humanities by Far Eastern University. And I've won in some competitions in Italy and the US, Busoni, the Viotti, and the Maryland. And I was an awardee for TOYM. But if I say the year,
It's okay.
Never mind. The TOYM is good in
TOYM,
itself.
yeah.
TOYM, so Y forever. And I had some awards from UP as an alumnus, as whatever.